Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ICOVISIONS podcast. I'm your host, JM Crypto, and on the line here, we have a very special guest with us today. It is the executive of Bitcar.io, Mr. Daniel Woodroof. Did I say your name right, Daniel?
Yep, that's correct. It's all good. Hi, I'm Daniel Woodroof, and I'm executive at Bitcar, and I handle communications and strategic partnerships. Thank you for having me.
Great. So I guess now, just to start and just to let all of our audience know, who exactly is Daniel Woodroof?
Yeah, so good question. Daniel Woodroof is a professional race car driver. I'd say that that's my real kind of professional background. I've been in
Awesome.
professional motorsports for the last 10 to 11 years. And on top of that, I've also been a TV host for channels like Fox Sports and Discovery Asia, and also worked on a couple of business development projects throughout Southeast Asia, including Thailand, Malaysia, and South Korea. And now I've been sucked into the black hole that is cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So here I am with Bitcar.
Awesome, awesome. I see that the industry for which you're disrupting, it's very unique, and I guess there's a level of exclusivity to it for which you're happening to do. So I guess now maybe to tell the audience as well, what exactly is Bitcar, and what is it that they're happening to do, a problem that they're solving, and maybe their business model?
Yeah, sure. So Bitcar as a company has a couple of value propositions that I like to talk about. The first is the one that we've kind of been marketing since the very beginning, and that is allowing fractional ownership in exotic supercars. And what we mean by exotic cars is extremely rare, collectible, classic vehicles, supercars, and hypercars.
Hmm.
And what we allow is through tokenization of these assets is to allow people to have fractional ownership. So instead of having to buy the entire car, they can have little bits and pieces. Now, that being said, one of the largest misconceptions we have, and one that I always have to address, is that we are not a ride-sharing platform. Most people think that fractional
Hmm.
ownership entitles them to drive the car, say, 1 or 2 times a month or throughout the year. And that's frankly not the case. So that really begs the question, why would you want to own a bit of a car that you never get to drive? Bearing in mind that these cars are treated like pieces of art, they're kept in storage in a way that really preserves their value. So why would you want that? It's because these cars, these collectible rare vehicles, actually make up an asset class that have outperformed all others over the last 10 to 12 years. You can actually look at the performance on the Knight Frank Luxury Index and the Haggerty's Index, doing comparisons against other asset classes, and you can see that even up against property, gold, REITs, hedge funds, the S&P 500, gold, silver, other commodities, it's outperformed all of them. And if you actually look at the performance over the last 10 years, they've actually brought about 334% total annualized returns, which is just incredible.
Wow. Wow.
And if you actually break the index down into individual cars, and you look at the performance of these individual cars over time, my favorite example being the McLaren F1, which is made very famous by Rowan Atkinson, who's the actor for Mr. Bean, for actually crashing his McLaren F1 supercar a couple times. That car in 2006 had a valuation of 1.125 million US dollars. Now, 10 years later in 2016, that same car was sold at auction for $15.3 million. And
Wow.
these are the kind of levels of price appreciation that you see across the board with cars in this asset class. Now, the inherent problem with it is that most people, that is, can't own these cars because you need $1 million out of pocket just to own one, on top of all the maintenance, storage, etc. So what we do is we allow people to have the mass market for the very first time access to this asset class through the act of tokenization. So that's really the first value proposition that the platform brings. The second is that of a stable coin. Now, Bitcar has a dual token economy. So we have our utility token kind of at the top layer, kind of like the native cryptocurrency to the platform. And what actually represents ownership in one of these cars are the asset tokens. And if you read through our white paper, they're called car tokens. Um, and these car tokens are actually backed by the physical exotic cars themselves. So they're backed by a physical hard metal asset, which means and these tokens are pegged to the US dollar value of the car when they're brought onto the platform. Now, what this brings is a huge amount of stability. It provides a relative safe haven in times of cryptocurrency volatility. I, for one, am sure that it's a platform we all wish existed a couple months ago, because we're seeing all the crypto markets in the red over the last couple of days,
Right.
couple of weeks. So that's another kind of value proposition that it brings. The third being the fact that you're actually able to trade your way to full ownership of a car. So what we have on the Bitcar platform is a peer-to-peer exchange where users can actually trade these asset tokens between themselves. And this peer-to-peer exchange can best be described as a live auction model. So think of it like eBay meets E-Trade with fractions of exotic cars. And where ownership of these cars is represented by these asset tokens, you can actually work your way to full ownership of one of these cars. And we're already seeing people like hedge funds seeing the value in this, because they can actually trade their way up and eventually acquire one of the cars on the platform completely outright. So I think those are the three main takeaways that people should have when they do think about Bitcar.
That's fantastic. That's really interesting. Thanks for that. And also, I
No
guess
worries.
now, when did you think of the idea, and how long have you been testing or working on the actual idea and putting it to work?
Yeah, so actually, I didn't come up with the idea, although a lot of the time I do wish I did, especially with my
Right.
automotive background. It was actually the brainchild of the Bitcar co-founders. So that's Dr. Gov Van Eck and John Bullich. Way back in 2014, they were one of the first people in blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and they wanted to come up with four main, well, they did come up with four main ideas that they wanted to pursue in the blockchain industry. One in the power industry, one in the medical records industry, one in data verification that also came in the form of an app, and lastly, the Bitcar platform. Now, all these ideas were conceptualized in 2014, and since then they've executed on 3 out of 4 of those ideas. And now they're coming around to actually fully executing Bitcar. Back in 2015, they actually got to work on an MVP working prototype with our CTO, Nuno Munz, that was built on the Bitcoin blockchain using colored coin technology. And that was all up and running, and they really worked out the kind of mechanics of the platform and how everything would work. So that's existed since 2015, but it was only really towards the end of the second half of 2017 where they were like, this is the right time for us to actually pursue the idea of Bitcar outright. And here we are today. We're halfway through our token sale. We've got a couple weeks left, and it's great to see the idea really coming to fruition.
No, that's really great information for which you've given. And not to mention, I'm sure those individuals for which you mentioned on your team will appreciate you giving them the credit for the idea.
Yeah. Couldn't
Awesome.
take it all for myself.
Right, very unselfish. That's great. You're a true team player. And also, I guess now, so you did mention that you do have a minimum viable product
Yep.
at the current moment. So that is a great thing. I guess now, when would that be ready, or when are you expecting that your MVP to be up and running?
Sure. So you can actually catch some screenshots of our MVP on our white paper, though it is a very crude version as to what would actually be live later on in our roadmap. We've
Great.
actually recently hired a UI UX engineer to really get working on beautifying the whole thing. But we're coming towards the end of our token sale, and the next stage the next milestone in our roadmap really is to fully decentralize this prototype onto the Ethereum blockchain. So we're really looking at this happening sometime in the middle of this year. So that really is the next milestone.
Awesome. Awesome. I guess with your token as well, it does have a level of exclusivity. Say they'll be able to own, yeah, as you mentioned, these fractions of these different, I guess, exotic vehicles that they wouldn't normally have access to, or the general public wouldn't normally have access to, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yep, exactly. So I think we need to bring it back to one of my previous points, and that is that we have a dual token economy.
Okay.
So the token that we're selling in our token sale that is currently ongoing and that you can actually access via our website bitcar.io. Our native cryptocurrency is called Bitcar, and you'll see it constantly referenced in all of our publications in all caps. So BITCAR, and that acts as a utility token to the entire platform. And what you can do is you can access the platform, see what kind of cars are available on the portfolio, and then exchange these Bitcar tokens for fractional ownership in these cars. And that fractional ownership is represented by this secondary token um, in our ecosystem, and that is the car token or the asset token. So that
Hmm.
really is the exclusive token in the entire platform, because it represents actual ownership, actual fractional ownership in an exotic car.
That's great. Would people be able to maybe reach you and your team through Telegram or email if people wanted to, I guess, reach out to your team and kind of get
Yeah,
more
one
questions
hundred
answered?
percent. All of our core team is available on our Telegram, so you can hop on there and ask us any questions you like. Alternatively, failing that, we have our social media platforms as well. You can message us through there. We've got our email address, info@bitcar.io. Um, and also on our website, if you go to the team section, you can actually view all of our profiles and get in touch with us via LinkedIn as well. So we're available across multiple platforms. And if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to get in touch.
Great. Now, also, I guess, who are the developers on your team?
Yeah, sure. So our real king of development is our CTO, Nuno Martins,
Hmm.
and he's worked on some extremely successful blockchain companies in the past. Unlike many of the teams out there, working on blockchain projects. This isn't our core teams first. They've actually worked on previous ICOs and built some really successful platforms. And Nuno in particular, this is his fourth blockchain platform, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
I don't know what else he's done in the background. So he's just a mega full stack blockchain developer, and helping him out as well is Alistair Penman. So these two together are our two main tech geniuses who make up the Bitcar platform.
Great. Great, great. And also, I guess, what are your advantages over other competitors if you do have any other competitors? Maybe you could share some light in that.
Yeah, sure. I think we've got a couple advantages over any potential competitors that may appear in the market. The first being we have first mover advantage. Um,
Mhm.
so we've really kind of carved our name in this space.
Great, great.
Secondly, as I mentioned before, when you take a look at our core team, whether it's our co-founders, our marketing team, even our tech team, this isn't the first blockchain company they've worked on. They've done ICOs before. They've marketed and they've worked on other blockchain companies in the past. So they really have that understanding of how everything works in the ecosystem, whether it is in the token sale or later on in the roadmap. Um, so in that regard, the experience truly is priceless. On top of that, they provide on top of all the kind of tech experience that they provide. We also have advisors who are very well renowned in the exotic car space. If you actually take a look on our white paper, our advisor Peter Briggs has actually owned a classic car. He does own a classic car museum. He's owned over 300 classic cars um, in his life at one point, and he regularly participates in rallies across the world. I think he just got back from India,
Wow.
um, driving one of his original Bentleys, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so
Wow.
we really bring the tech expertise as well as the automotive expertise. And you have to really understand that even if we do have any competitors coming into this space, it's one thing building the platform. it's another actually having the networks to acquire these extremely rare cars. And that's something that money really can't buy. That's something that really falls down to experience, and relationships built across all around the world. Um, and another kind of edge that we have as a company is our great mix of entrepreneurs and people who have an entrepreneurial background, as well as those who have corporate backgrounds. We've got some team players who've got decades of experience in the energy industry, oil and gas, corporate turnarounds, etc. So we really have the best of both worlds, working together to make Bitcar what it is.
That's fantastic. Love the points that you had just mentioned there. And I guess now, just for everyone to know as well, for anyone who is not reading the white paper at this current moment, so this is why we do our actual show, to make it easier for people to not have to go through so much information and can kind of get it all in one, maybe when they're listening in the car or at home, etc. So I guess what is your hard cap, and what does your team allocation look like?
Sure. So our hard cap is approximately 22 million US dollars. We have a total of 500 million tokens that will
Okay.
ever be created for these Bitcar tokens, and 250 million are what's going up for sale in our token sale. In regards to the team, there is a total allocation of 95 million tokens, but this not only goes to the core team, but it goes towards future employees as well. And the
I
lockup
see.
period associated with these tokens is, they're held in escrow between 6 months after the token sale and 12 months after the platform launch. And for anybody listening, all this information is available in our token paper on our website. So it's available in both our white paper and our token paper.
Great, great. So you do have a separate token paper, as I had seen. That was very convenient and
Yeah, yeah.
interesting. So that's great. And also, I guess now, how long is the lockup period for your tokens? Is it 6 months as mentioned, or is it another
For
time period?
the team members or for the
For
general
the
users?
general public, yeah.
Right, yeah. So the general public will receive their tokens no later than 4 weeks after the end of our token sale. So our token sale ends on April the 20th at 3 p.m. Singapore time. So get in while you can. Um, yeah, there is no lockup period.
Great. Now, where do you see Bitcar by the end of the year?
Ooh, tough one. I mean, at the very least, we're going to have our trading platform up and running. So we're going to have a couple of the first cars on our platform, and we're looking at hopefully, acquiring that very first exotic by Q3 to Q4 of this year. So by then, we're hoping to see some trading on the platform, and we'll really start to see some gamification kind of come into play. No pun intended. What we've actually got is on our peer-to-peer exchange, we're actually looking at gamifying the entire thing, kind of like a post platform launch bounty campaign. I think towards the end of the year, on top of actually seeing some trading, we're also going to start seeing some of the first real rewards being handed out. We can see that come in the form of experience days, whether we get some of the best performing users on the Bitcar platform to attend track days in supercars, get VIP experiences with people like Formula One teams. And another thing you may have seen in our white paper, we're actually giving away a Lamborghini Huracan. So most people only have a bounty campaign during their ICO, but we've taken it a step further, and we're having another bounty campaign that runs after the platform launch. And the grand prize for this is going to be an actual Lamborghini Huracan gifted to one lucky user. So that's kind of where I see ourselves coming soon, further down in the roadmap.
Awesome. Well, everyone, get that Lamborghini Huracan.
Oh, when Lambo, now Lambo.
That's awesome. That's great. So, I can come to you if I ever need an exotic vehicle in the future.
Exactly.
You are the guy. Excellent, excellent. Well, Daniel, thanks definitely for taking the time to join us today. I'll certainly
No
look
worries. Thank you
forward.
so much for having me.
Oh, it's fantastic. Not a problem. And everyone, do check out bitcar.io. Get that Lambo Huracan exclusive. Okay. Did you say it's being given away? Is that correct?
Yep, it's the grand prize in our bounty post platform launch bounty campaign. Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks again, Daniel. And
no
we'll be
worries.
talking soon. Check out
Yep,
bitcar.io, everyone. Thank you.
check it out, guys. Thank you so much.